Welcome to Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. I'm your host, Nancy O'Neill. Each week I speak with local professionals on a wide range of topics, from fitness to finances and from dance to dentistry. We are here to give you tips and advice on how you can live a happy and healthier life no matter what age you may be. Dr. Adam Still with Smile Sarasota is back with us today, and we're talking about CAD/CAM dentistry. So that's a new one for me. Well, at least the term is. I don't know. Maybe I've had it done and I just don't know it. What is CAD/CAM dentistry?
Well, CAD/CAM stands for Computer-Aided Design and Computer-Aided Manufacturing. It is by no means a technology exclusive to dentistry. It's used in a lot of different industries, but for the most common dental application, we are able to take a tooth that we just prepared, like say for a crown, for example, and we take three-dimensional images of that tooth. From those three-dimensional images, we can go to a computer monitor and we can actually design the restoration on the computer. And from the design that we do on the computer, it will then get milled out of a solid block of ceramic material, and that's a restoration that can actually just be placed directly in the tooth at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like a 3D printer?
It's similar to that concept. It's three-dimensional imaging, just like you would with a printer, except instead of actually printing it from nothing into something, we're actually taking it from a block and we're actually milling it down to something that we want to use.
Okay.
But a very similar concept.
All right. Now, what are the advantages of this over dentistry from previous years?
Well, there are actually quite a few advantages. One, because this is a system all done within the office, we can actually do it in one day and in one appointment. So you could kind of walk in with an issue and leave with a permanent restoration in there. Okay. So that's one of the great advantages of it. Other than that, another thing I like about it is that we tend to see less sensitivity with these restorations, because when we prepare the tooth and we temporize it, for example, we leave it kind of exposed to the oral environment for a while before it's sealed again. With this kind of instrument, within a few hours, we're sealing that up again. Okay. And then another big advantage that patients really seem to love is the fact that we don't have to take impressions anymore with these. So we don't have to have the big mouthful of the goop, that people find so annoying. Yep. We're actually using a camera instead to get that same effect.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Nobody likes to go back to the dentist. No offense personally.
Right, exactly.
What are the disadvantages, if any?
Well, early on with this technology, you had to really want to be a CAD/CAM dentist. And when I say early on, this has been around for over 30 years at this point. Yeah. In the early stages, it was very time-consuming. The software left a lot to be desired, and it took a long time to get through the process. And then when you're finally done, the final fit and precision of the seal of the restoration was in question. But over the many years they've been doing this, and all the advances in the software and in the cameras that we use nowadays, we really eliminated those issues. If there really was a drawback, it may just be the time involved. Because we have the whole process to do from start to finish in a few hours, I mean, we really have to once we're done preparing the tooth, we're not just temporizing it and send it off to the lab. We actually have to mill the restoration out, then we try it in, and then it goes into the oven where the material goes through its final hardening process, and then we put it in the mouth. So, there's 10 minutes here, maybe 25 minutes there, where the patient's kind of hanging out, reading a magazine or playing on their iPhone.
Now, how long have you been working with this particular technology?
I've been using this for about the last 5 years at this point, and it's even come a long way in that time. Every maybe 5 years that goes by, you're updating the cameras, updating the software constantly. So it's improving every day.
So your office is state of the art. I mean, everything that you do in there is now current with what's going on in the industry. So if somebody wants to get something done, you have it.
We feel like it is, yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, what's your favorite thing about this technology?
Well, it's kind of just fun to use. I sometimes I liken it to, you're almost like you're playing with Photoshop or something like that as you're designing this restoration. Yeah. So it's really enjoyable to use, but because you're designing it yourself, the thing I like about it is the controls in my hands. I get to say how I want the bite to look and how I want the contacts between the teeth to look. So I have the ultimate control of how the outcome of the final restoration is. And there's a number of things that I do enjoy about it. One of them being the convenience of it for the patient standpoint, but also from my standpoint. If I have a patient where they come in and they say, hey, I just broke my tooth and I'm about to head off to Europe for the next 2 months, we don't have to wait for the lab to come and or take the restoration from there. We can actually go ahead and take care of it right there on the spot. They can leave. I don't have to worry about them in a temporary during that period of time.
And swallowing it.
Exactly,
possibly.
exactly,
Yes. Yeah. Well, you sound like you love what you do, which is so important.
Absolutely.
For anybody, but especially in your profession. What do you see the future being now that you said you've seen growth already in 5 years in the technology? Where do you see this going, Doctor?
Well, you, for example, had mentioned 3D printing before. I think that the combination of CAD/CAM and then, the three-dimensional type of printing kind of thing that we're doing, that's sort of the future, I think. What we talk about in dentistry is the same as a lot of other industries, where we're watching a shift from analog to digital. In this particular application, we are taking a three-dimensional image instead of an impression. But I think with this digital information we're using these days, this is information that can be quickly transferred from one person to the next. I can email this to a lab or to a specialist that I'm working with on a case, and we can actually, more efficiently transfer the information. And it's probably a way that we can almost more accurately describe this, because we can both be looking at the same thing on the same computer at the same time.
Yeah.
And the way we plan cases out, I think we'll see that all change, and I think that's going to be to the benefit of the patient.
Great. Well, thank you again. Always a pleasure seeing you.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We have more tips on keeping a healthy lifestyle with Dr. Jenny Wilkins from Age Vital Pharmacy. Coming right up. Studies show 35% of the population has difficulty swallowing pills, including vitamins. Injectable vitamins or IV therapy may be exactly what is needed to address these deficiencies in essential vitamins. And here to talk about that is Dr. Jenny Wilkins, owner of Age Vital Pharmacy. Welcome back this week.
Thank you, Nancy.
Another fascinating subject to talk about. So, vitamins, pills, it's a lot of fuss. And sometimes it's really difficult to swallow these. So what do you suggest, and when do people get this done? On a regular basis?
Because pills, especially the elderly population, and we live in the geriatric capital of the world. Okay, so a lot of our patients, they can't swallow capsules, or some of these vitamins are so thick and they're so full of excipients and preservatives and they're not breaking down in the gut. Yeah. Or you have people with digestive disorders that just do not absorb or get the benefits of the vitamins that they're taking orally.
They just go right through you.
Goes right through them. Like, for example, Centrum Silver, it's the worst vitamin that you can purchase over the counter. It's the #1 vitamin that you find in porta potties. That's gross. No. So then you're not ever absorbing it. So people are just throwing away their money buying these nonsense vitamins that aren't regulated, #1, and then they're all synthetic.
I know, you talked about that last week, to check the back of the
you need to look for that CGMP logo on there, good manufacturing process. So people, you have oncologists that'll send referrals, or I'll even teach different practices, family practices, endocrinologists, how to do IV therapy in their office. Instead of going, because the consumer's waking up. They're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and they don't want to go and get chemotherapy. They don't want to have radiation. They don't want to take these toxic chemicals that's giving them a longer list of side effects and benefits.
But we're talking about in general,
vitamins and IV in general.
Not just if
I just did a vitamin D shot before I came here, because I felt a little bit, tired and fatigued. And vitamin D injections, I did a 50,000 IU injection. That's great. I would never be able to take a 50,000 IU orally. Bodies just simply wouldn't break it down. And then by the time it gets done breaking down in the stomach, you're only absorbing about 20% of it.
Okay. And how long does it take?
I'm getting
for a shot.
Yep, for a shot and an IV. You feel it instantly. Within the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it lasts all week. I don't have to think about taking a bunch of pills.
And you can do that at home.
They can do it. They come in with a prescription. The doctors will write for a vitamin D vial or a lipo injection, which is the combination of all the B complexes with lipotropic nutrients that help enhance energy and weight loss, helps with your hair. Everyone always asks me about my hair and do I have extensions. I'm like, no, it's mine.
So the IV therapy, though, they would have to come into the pharmacy
Yes.
to have that done.
We do house calls, or they can come into Age Vital Wellness, which is like the Vital MD. We have multiple practitioners across the globe. So it's not just in Sarasota. Someone calls us from Kentucky. You know, we have providers in Kentucky. So they will go to their practice or they'll go to their house. And we have doctors here locally. We have places like Replenish IV in Tampa. We have Revital Life Wellness, which Dr. Grubbs, Dr. Karen Leggett over in Bradenton. I mean, there's several different, and there's Hydrate right here off of Main Street, and that's phenomenal.
Really?
People, yeah. So it's not just one location, because we have multiple partners, multiple different providers that do the same thing.
Vitamin D, but what else do you need on a regular basis?
I recommend people come in and get their weekly vitamin D shot, get a weekly mineral shot, because people are so often dehydrated. They're getting headaches, they get anxiety. You had the mineral drops. Imagine getting that in an injection form.
Gosh.
And then it's that much more concentrated, and it's an energy booster. You're not as tired, not as fatigued, and most often 88% of migraines and headaches are from people being dehydrated. And instead of getting to the root cause, they're actually taking supplements like Imitrex or ibuprofen or these chemicals that they simply do not need.
Or drinking too much water?
Or they're drinking too much water,
right?
And it's messing up with their, that's very good, yeah. They're messing with their minerals. And our water does not have all the minerals that's required to nourish. You know, most of our water, they remove all of that. They call it, you know, it's free and clear and processed. I'm like, yeah, what that means is they removed all of the good stuff out of it, and then you're not hydrating your cells.
So is there a benefit to doing an IV compared to doing oral vitamins or injections? I mean, we know the oral vitamins, if you can't take them, I'm sure there are still some good ones that if people can swallow capsules, they can get them from you.
Yep. I have them in capsule form. Capsule vitamins are the best because you're getting it in a vegetarian capsule, and it's going to break, you know, and dissolve in your gut more than a tablet will, or in a powder form. Like I take magnesium powder before I go to bed instead of a capsule, because that's instantaneous. But the IV, I'll do a once a month IV. It's a quick pick me up. I'm getting mega doses of vitamin C, mega doses of minerals, and it's just like, you know what? I had an exhausting month. This is my treat. It's so hot in Miami. You can't go. In LA, I mean, these are huge. Las Vegas, they have the hydration heaven mobiles where people, it's like getting your nails done for women. They want to go get the anti-aging IV drips with the glutathione, and they leave the clinics glowing, and it gets rid of, you know, cancer markers. It gets rid of fermentation in the blood. So cancer patients love it because it's an alternative to chemo and radiation, and that's usually who I recommend it for, because now you're attacking the cancer at the source. You're making the body stronger as opposed to, you know, making it weaker to kill off cancer. Or hangovers. That's a huge one for the college students. My goodness, we get calls at 2 o'clock in the morning from all sorts of people. It could be executives, it could be college students, and they have to, you know, be awake and with it the next day, and they're doing the hangover drips because it's full of electrolytes and vitamin C. And hangovers, hangovers are, it's dehydration. That's what a hangover is. You've dehydrated your cells, so you need a quick, and they can't swallow anything because they're so sick to their stomach.
So to wrap, the oral vitamins are good.
Yep,
if you
oral
get
vitamins
them.
are good.
And if people can't swallow them, but otherwise, then do the injections or the IV drip.
Yeah, injections are for, it's a commodity, you know, but it's a quick fix, and it's instant gratification.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right. Esther Holt with Star Financial joins us after the break. We'll be right back. Esther Holt with Star Financial Solutions joins us, and we're talking about traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Another week. Amazing how quickly they go.
Yes.
So what is the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA?
Well, the traditional IRA is pre-tax, and a Roth IRA is after-tax money. So with a traditional IRA, you put the money in, and then you take a tax deduction. With a Roth, you put the money in, you don't have a tax deduction. But when you take money out of the Roth, you don't pay taxes. When you take money out of the traditional, you do pay taxes.
So why would why would you get one than the other if you're going to do so much better with a Roth IRA?
Oh, you're not necessarily going to do so much better. Don't forget, if you need a tax deduction, you're going to want to go with a traditional. Also, there's certain times when you can and can't participate in one or the other. So that's why there are both.
Okay, so tell us all of the differences, because they're the same in a lot of respects and there are the differences. So
Right.
how are they the same, Esther?
They both grow either tax deferred or tax free, depending on which one you have. So while they're growing, you're not paying capital gains taxes when you're making money, which is quite nice. Also, the limits to how much you can put in 1 year are the same. So if you're under 50, you can only put in $5,500 a year. If you're over 50, you can put in $6,500.
And that's the cap.
And that's it per year.
Okay.
So that, in those ways, they're the same. Or if you want to do a little bit in both, then together you can only put in those amounts. So you can't go over that amount no matter how you do it.
Okay. What happens now that you've got the money in there? What happens if you need it and you need to take it out early?
Well, there are penalties. So on a traditional IRA, if you're not 59 and a half, you're going to pay tax on everything that comes out, and you're going to pay a penalty of 10%. On a Roth, if you're not 59 and a half, you're going to pay tax on the gains plus a 10% penalty on the gains. And there's a way they figure out what your gains and what your principal.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
don't want to do that unless you absolutely
No, this
have to.
money is for retirement. And that's what the government wants you to be using it for. Also, as far as contributing to these IRAs, on a traditional IRA, if you are participating in a 401k or some kind of retirement plan at work, depending on how much money you make, you may or may not be able to contribute to a traditional IRA and get a tax deduction.
So if you're putting a certain amount already in at work,
Right.
like we'll say it's $4,000 and you're under 50, you can't put more than
It
$1,500
depends on how much you make also. It depends on how
okay.
much money, what your salary is. And
Okay.
on a Roth IRA, you don't have that limit. So if you're participating at work, you can still put money into your Roth. However, if you're making too much money, then you can't participate in a Roth. So there's all these limits and ways to figure out which is best, which is not. And that's when you really need to consult your tax professional. And
Or
they'll
you.
let you know. Or me. It's a lot of times you do both in a case like this, because the tax professional will know how much money you made the previous year. He'll know, how much you're putting into the other one, and we can all work together. And that's the best.
Now, do you suggest that one's better than another for somebody to invest in?
It depends on your situation. Absolutely. If you can only contribute to a traditional IRA until you're 70 and a half. So if you are still making money and you want to still contribute to something, you can contribute to a Roth. There's no
After
age
70,
limit.
okay.
Correct.
All
If you really need a tax deduction, like most of us do, and you don't have a 401k or a retirement plan at work, then you want to put money into a traditional IRA. So it really, really depends on your situation.
Okay. Now, we'll use me as an example. What if I don't have anything started? I mean, obviously, at this point in my life, I do. but for someone who hasn't, we'll say of any age, if somebody hasn't, where do they start? When they come to you?
They would come to me, and we would talk about where are you in life? So you come to me, you're 20 years old, you're working, and you're not paying taxes. So we probably want to go with a Roth.
Okay.
You come to me and you're 35 and you got 2 kids and you're paying taxes and you need every deduction you can. You don't have a 401k at work, we go with a traditional. And we work it out, and that's how we work on that.
And you should start saving as much as you can as soon as you can.
As soon as you can, because don't forget, this is all growing tax deferred. And so the more years you have for growth, the more you end up with on retirement.
And again, 70 and a half is the magic age where you have to start taking
From a traditional.
from a traditional.
You don't have to take from a Roth.
Okay.
So and the beneficiaries have to take from both. But on a traditional IRA, you have RMD that we've discussed before, and you start taking that at 70 and a half, and there's a calculation that they do for that.
All right. And this is why people need to come and see you. Thank you again. I always learn something.
Thank you.
I may not get it right away, but by the time you leave, I usually do. Thank you, Esther. Thank you for joining us on Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. To find more tips from local experts, you can view previous episodes and complete seasons at snntv.com under programming. We'll be back next Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. with more tips on how you can live a happier and healthy life. Until then, have a wonderful week.